here. Now the tough part is, because of the tri-hole design and the shape of my saddles, it wants to ride off of them. So it takes a little more balance getting that thing to go forward up there. Not too bad. Well, I was able to get my system that I currently use for my Hobie Revolution and Hobie Oasis to work for this kayak, but it did present some challenges with that tri-hole design. The saddles want to slide up into these gaps, which sends it off track. So I'm going to have to play around a little bit with this system and see if I can get it to work a little bit smoother. But otherwise, the Yakima Showboat makes it pretty easy to get it up on there by myself. I can do that no problem. So just got to work on my saddle orientation, and hopefully I'll make it work a little smoother next time. Alright, so I got my Topwater 120 PDL getting ready to go out here on my first shakedown trip with this boat. Decided just to hit a local bass pond here for a few hours. Pretty low in intensity in terms of gear, but yeah, it's weird getting a new boat ready. You know, your routine's totally busted because you don't have one, and feels awkward trying to get everything together. So far so good. So it is definitely heavy. That's just the thing I noticed immediately, is when trying to move this thing around, it's a behemoth. We'll get out in the water and see how it proves itself today, in some flat water with some weeds. See how we do. Not a giant, but I'll take it. So had a pretty casual pedal. I feel like I could do this all day and not really fatigue. I'm doing 2.8 to 3 miles per hour. That's pretty good. Let's turn it up and see what it's capable of. Kind of wavering between 4 and 4.5 miles per hour. So, don't really gain a whole lot of speed for a lot more effort. But, you know, 3 miles per hour is plenty for me. Okay. Oh, yeah. Now we're really struggling. And that's it. I'm stuck. Can't go in reverse. I can't go forward. So the only way I can get back in here now is I have to pop the drive up and then paddle my way in. Oh yeah, that's a weedy mess. Well, definitely one of my favorite things about this kayak so far is the pedal drive system. I just love being able to go that instant reverse. You can turn really quickly and easily in a tight and confined space without having to go down and reach down and pull up like I have to do in my Hobie. Normally, I always have to use my paddle in here, do 5 or 6 pivots. With this kayak, it's really just one. Pretty impressed with the PDL drive. It's very quiet. It felt a little stiff this morning, but I think it's been loosening up as the day's gone on. It's very quiet compared to my Hobies, my Mirage drives, which surprises me because a lot of what I read about pedal drives is that they're loud, the prop drives. But all my Hobies knock or squeak or do something that's incredibly annoying. Even right out of when they're brand new, they are noisy. This I can barely hear. I do get some cavitation if I'm going in reverse, or if I'm going forward and then I reverse quick, you'll hear it. There's that cavitation underneath. That's the loudest part about it. Burner worm. Pretty fat, it's been eating well. Now, one of the things about the Topwater is its stability. I mean, it's crazy. I can stand up no issue. Gives me ability to look out and see pockets of weeds, look for fish. I just saw a big bass down here, but this is going to be really great in the spring. And also it's going to be really nice for fly fishing if I want to use a pedal drive for fly fishing. Be able to sight fish for trout. So yeah, it's super stable. And the cool thing is you don't have to sit back down to pedal the drive. I can just simply reach down with my hands, forward and reverse, help position myself a little bit. It's kind of nice. So it's really easy to do. I can just use my hands. Go in reverse. I can back up a little bit, tighten up a little bit. I don't have to sit down, which reduces fatigue. So that's pretty neat. Let's see if we can get it back over. That part was easy. That was easy too. So it's pretty easy to self-rescue, but it's really hard to turn over. Once you get turned over, just grab that prop drive and pull it on over. You had no idea how happy I was to roll that boat over and get in the water today. So let's go down and take a look inside the hull. It wasn't upside down for very long, but I'm curious to see if any water got inside. We're going to pop the front off here first. Open it up. Well, that's just from what came off the lid. I don't see anything major there. Come back here behind the chair. Lock that. Well, I don't see, it looks pretty bone dry in there. I'm going to say it held water very well. It held water at bay at least. So that's great. Very difficult to tip, fairly easy to recover. That's a good combination. Okay, so now that I've had half a day out on the water with it, I wanted to give you some of my initial impressions. And I'm going to go over 3 things I really liked about the kayak and 3 things I didn't like about the Topwater 120. So I'm going to start with the things I like. I'll try to start with a positive note. Hands down, I'm really in love with the PDL drive. I love it for it's very quiet. It's very efficient. I didn't feel like I was working any harder than I do with my Mirage drives, and I was able to maintain 3.5 miles per hour. I could do that all day long. It didn't seem like it would fatigue me. I do love how quiet it is, especially for filming. All my Hobies within the first few hours, they either make a squeak or they knock. They rattle a bit more. This thing's, it's got a low grind, but it's pretty quiet. And the instantaneous reverse hands-free is a game changer for me in these situations where I'm bass fishing or in and around structure. It's just so nice to be able to pull away. When a fish hooks me, like today I had a fish hook me and started pulling me into where I suspected other fish were holding, and a lot of times that would just happen with my other Hobies, and I would just get pulled over those fish and that would be it. Those fish would spook and I couldn't catch any more out of there. With this, I can instantaneously reverse while I'm fighting the fish. I can also pedal while I'm standing, which is really nice. I can just reach down with my hands and fish from a standing position. Which leads into the second thing I like about this kayak, that is its stability. Very easy to stand in. I could walk all over this thing. It wasn't going to tip. I had to try extremely hard to tip it. And once I did tip it, it was fairly easy to recover, so that's a good thing. And the third thing that I really like about it is just the layout. I feel like the cockpit was very well designed. Everything was kind of right where I wanted it to be, and I didn't have to install gear tracks. The rudder controls were right where I wanted them to be. Up-down lever, it's out of the way. That forward-facing rod holder just made it so nice when I was tying up gear. I really like that cockpit layout in this thing. So those are all the positive things I like about this kayak. Now let's talk about what I don't like about it. And I'm going to be pretty brutal here. This seat is the worst kayak seat I have ever sat in my life. It is the most uncomfortable thing ever. I don't know. I'd have to say that the only time that I've felt a kayak seat this uncomfortable is like when I sit in those molded in cheap sit on top that don't have any foam or nothing. The issue with this thing is it's very light, so yeah, it does breathe, but when I sit here towards the back, my tailbone sits right on this bar right here. And I retightened this front Velcro many times, and I tried tightening up this, but this thing was just pounding on my tailbone all day. It's rubbed raw. I don't know who designed this, but I don't think they tested it very much. I'm going to have to either wrap that bar in foam or try a seat pad and see if that works, or upgrade to a better seat. I really feel like that they did so much on this kayak right, and then they just totally blew it on this seat, which is a shame because the seats are expensive, and if you don't enjoy sitting in your kayak, you're not going to use it. So yeah, I've got to remedy that situation before I use it again, because I can't go out here and be rubbing skin off my tailbone all day. The other thing that I don't like about it, and this is that trade-off with that stability, is it's very heavy. It's a challenge for me to load and unload compared to my other kayaks. I think a lot of that has to do with the width and hull design, but it is extremely heavy, and I absolutely will have to use a cart if I'm going to move it any significant kind of distance. So that's another weakness as well, but I think that comes with the territory with these larger, more stable boats. My whole life I've owned faster, slimmer profile kayaks that just don't weigh that much or are a little bit easier to handle. But I've never had a kayak I could stand in, so again, that's a trade-off. I don't think it's that severe of a knock. It's just, you know, you don't realize it till you get out here and you start trying to move things around. It is a hefty boat. And the third knock is really on the pedal drive again, which is kind of weird because that was what I think is the best thing about it, but it does not perform that well in weeds, and I had some video of that, and that's just, there's nothing you can do about that. These props just wrap up in weeds, and that's just the way it goes. But it's something that everybody needs to be aware of. So if you fish in really weedy areas, the Mirage Drive performs better. There are areas that I can normally always get to with my Mirage Drive that I'd have to pull the prop up and paddle out. So that's it. Overall, I'm still really happy with the boat. The main thing that I'm just really displeased with is the chair. I kind of feel like if, hopefully Old Town's listening to anglers out there, they would just offer a minimal amount of money to upgrade, or some sort of exchange program to go to the Predator seats, which are on their Predator kayaks, which have a far better reputation. Actually I have sat in a Predator seat and it was very comfy, so I know that it works. But this chair here is not that good. Alright, till next time, if you have any questions, just shoot them below in the comments. I'll put a link to this kayak to the Old Town website so you can read more about it. And I'll also put a link here at the end to the unboxing video for this kayak. Next, I think I'm going to take this thing out and chase some Chinook salmon on the Columbia River and see how it handles in current and big water. Till next time, guys. See you later.